Okay, I'm going to write this on the board so we can get started. We have quite a bit to go over. All right, how's everybody doing tonight? Good, great, wonderful, perfect. Let's go get started because we have a lot to cover tonight. I sent an email to you. One of them, two emails actually. One was on the grades, your grades. If you're missing on a grade, you have through Sunday to make it up. A lot of times it's just I don't have a URL to your photo stream and Flickr or whatever you're using. So make sure you get that done. I'll accept it through Sunday. Past Sunday, won't accept any late work, so make sure you get that in. So tonight's Tuesday. Make sure you have uploaded week 5 take-home exposure to your photo site. You should have done it prior to class tonight. I will be collecting your exposure photos in class also using the Max tonight. I'll be collecting a few of them, not all of them, just a few of them. We'll go over that in a second. We'll also be going over a white balance video tonight and give you a kind of a thing to do between now and Thursday as a white balance exercise for your cameras. On Thursday, we're going to go over the instructions for your white balance take-home. And so tonight we're going to do an in-class lab at the end, which I'm going to give you some direction to take home with you by Thursday. And then on Thursday, you're going to do a white balance take home. So let's go and get started first, which is on this video I want us to watch real quick on white balance. We're going to do the video discussion, and then we're going to do you're going to do a critique on your photos that you've taken for this assignment. Okay, make sure I get this turned up. Yada yada. There we go. All right. Well, like I said, we have a lot to do tonight, so I'm going to try to get this all in tonight if we could.
Hello.
Okay, let's watch the video, please.
In 90 seconds. Today's topic is custom white balance. Now, as we move from room to room and under different lighting conditions, our eyes adapt naturally and set the white balance appropriately. But for a digital camera, the process is a little bit different. Now, most digital cameras have an automatic white balance setting, and this does a pretty good job, but unfortunately, it's only approximate. Now, if you're serious about getting proper colors, proper skin tones, and having a proper color workflow, you're going to want to set the white balance manually. Now, fortunately, this is a fairly easy process. What you're going to need is a spectrally neutral gray card, like the following. Now, if you're shooting in RAW, the process is very simple. All you need to do is take a picture of this card with your model under the right lighting conditions, and in post-processing, you can just select a portion of this to set the white balance, and then sync that across all of the images. Now, if you're shooting in JPEG or video, it's quite crucial that you set the white balance in camera. Now, to do that, each camera system will be slightly different, but it'll likely involve taking a picture of a gray card like this, and then under the menu system, once you've filled the frame with this card, in the menu system, select the image of this card as your reference point, and then click OK or agree to set the custom white balance to that image. Now, the second step will likely be changing the white balance from automatic down to the custom setting, and the icon typically looks like this. I just want to reiterate, if you're serious about a good color workflow, it's very crucial that you set the white balance manually and not rely upon the approximate white balance that's achieved by the automatic white balance setting in your camera. All right, till next time.
Okay, what I just passed out to you is a poor man's gray card, which is white. It's a 15% gray card, which I use for probably the first 5 years of photography. And what it is in manual mode, it asks you in your manual mode of white balance. You'll see when you get to do your take home tonight. In your camera's on manual mode for white balance. When you put it on white balance, it has a set mode. It has to be pointed to the area you're taking a photo of. In this case, you're going to be actually pointing it to the white sheet of paper every time. And whatever lighting you're in, regardless of what the room is. You have the person hold the white sheet of paper, point to that white sheet of paper, press and hold the set button. It sets your white balance perfectly for that setting and that lighting. Okay? Every time. White balance, as you remember, or the color white, remember, is crucial to finding the correct color tones for a picture. Without the correct white in the picture, it's hard to know the correct color in the picture. And so that's where white balance comes in. So if you take that piece of paper and actually fold it in half for me real quick, go ahead and do that. Fold it in half.
Which one?
Fold it in half again. So you'll be folding it in half twice. To where it's going to end up looking like this when you're finished. Boom. Okay? So whatever setting that you're in, regardless if it's in a fluorescent, tungsten lighting, bright light outside, street lamp light, this can become your reference point for your white balance when you're setting it manually. Make sense? Okay? And you're going to learn more about that in just a second. So let me go ahead and exit out of this real quick. And I want to open up the next one I want to cover, which is this read white balance 1.pdf. Okay, now this goes over more detail on white balance, what it is, what it entails. And then after we do this, we're going to jump right into the critique on your exposure that you guys uploaded, your exposure assignment you uploaded. So white balance, what is it? Glad you asked. It's an aspect of photography that many digital camera owners don't use or understand. But it's something well worth learning about, and it can have real world impact upon the shots you take. Now, for those of you who have been avoiding white balance, you're not going to get to avoid it this week. You get to tackle it. At its simplest, the reason we adjust white balance is to get the colors of your image as accurate as possible. In bolding, that's important. You want your colors to be as accurate as possible. Why would you need to get the color right in your shots? You might have noticed when examining shots after taking them that images can come out with an orange or a blue or a yellowish type of tint, despite the fact that to your eye, to your naked eye, when you look at it, you're like, looks great to me. You look fine to me. Why is it coming out blue? Why is it coming out orange? Why is it coming out yellow? How many's had that happen on your pictures? Raise your hand high. Everybody should. If you've ever taken pictures, you've had this happen. Okay? The reason for this is that the images, different sources of light, have a different color or temperature to them. Fluorescent lighting, like in here, fluorescent lighting, let's not flash, please. Fluorescent lighting in here has a bluish cast to the photos. Tungsten lighting, like incandescent bulbs, the first generation bulbs, the old-fashioned bulbs that look like this. I'm not an artist by any means, but and the old-fashioned bulbs, remember? You screwed into the light socket, the old tungsten bulbs. Those have a yellowish tinge to them. So anywhere here, you got bluish, yellowish, and yeah, this is about right here in the middle. So they range in different colors from very cool light of the blue sky through very warm light of a candle. We don't generally notice this difference in temperature because our eyes adjust automatically. As you walk in this room tonight, when the lights were turned lower from the rest of the lab, your eyes automatically adjusted. And you started seeing things like you should see them. It takes a few seconds sometimes, some of us more than others, depending on how healthy our eyes are or unhealthy our eyes are. How tired you are. And I know nobody gets tired in college, right? Everybody's all chipper and ready to go. Now, we don't generally notice it again because our eyes adjust to it. So unless the temperature of the light is very extreme, like for instance, example would be winter's coming up with snow. You're in the classroom. You walk outside, it's midday, bright light, boom. You ever been blinded by that? So you get your eyes just get hit with that light, or vice versa. You're in the snow coming into a building like this, it's more darkly lit. Also a shock too. It takes a while for your eyes to adjust to that. But for the most part, unless it's extreme like that, your eyes adjust pretty quick, much faster than a camera. Digital cameras aren't clever enough to make these adjustments. That's why we need white balance. So for cooler, bluer, or greener light, you're going to tell your camera to warm things up. And in warm light, you're going to tell it to cool it down. In film camera, you normally had to just choose daylight and tungsten. That's it. And of course, using one film for both situations would be impossible. So adjusting white balance. Different digital cameras, everybody in here, it's going to be pretty general, like he said on the video, but they're all going to be a little bit different. But just kind of listen up. Different digital cameras have different ways of adjusting white balance, so ultimately you need to get your camera's manual out to work out the specifics of how to make changes for your camera on the manual mode. Or some of your cameras might not have manual mode. You will have these preset adjustments that we're going to look at in a second. Here are some basic presets that your camera could have. Everybody should have the first one, auto. Auto is where the camera makes a best guess at the shot-by-shot basis. You'll find it works in most situations, and I want you to stay out of auto from here on out, okay? Try your best to stay out of auto white balance, and you'll see why this week. You'll see a big difference in your photos by staying out of auto. Next is tungsten. Tungsten is a mode usually symbolized with a little light bulb for shooting. It's kind of like this little nice light bulb I drew up on the board. Especially under tungsten or incandescent lighting such as a bulb, generally cools things down, adding some blue tint. So like an old lamp at home that has a tungsten light in it is one example. Fluorescent like in here, very bad lighting. This compensates for the cool, slightly green on this room, slightly green temperature for fluorescent, and will warm up the shots. This may have two options. You can have a normal and halogen fluorescent. Halogen will be the kind you have for the car light, your car lights, and when you go outside tonight and you turn on your front headlights, that's going to be halogen fluorescent. Daylight sunny, not all cameras have the settings, most of yours will. It sets things at fairly normal white balance. It warms things up a little bit, adding yellow and orange. Cloudy, this setting generally warms things up a touch more than daylight. Flash, the flash of a camera can be quite cool, so if you go in flash white balance mode, WB mode, you'll find it warms things up a little bit. And then shade, the light in shade is generally cooler or bluer than shooting in direct sunlight, so this mode warms things up a little bit. So let's get into the manual white balance adjustment. In most cases, you can get pretty accurate results using the presets above, okay? But some digital cameras, most of your DSLRs, and most of your point and shoots have a manual feature for white balance. The way this is used varies a little bit between each model, but in essence, is what it does is it tells your camera what white looks like. Hold up your sheet of paper. This is what white looks like to your camera, all right? And in the shot, it tells you what light looks like, so it's something as a reference point for deciding how the colors should look. You can do this by buying yourself a nice white or gray card. It's 15% gray card. You don't need to do that, though, which is specifically designed for the task. And by the way, the video was put on by a person that actually sells digital photography equipment and has a number of items out there. So he's going to definitely want you to buy a gray card from his store. But you don't have to do that. I'm just telling you that. Now, some of you might be thinking, how much are a gray card? If I wanted to go like to Lundgren's and buy one, under 10 bucks. You can get them for under 10 bucks. I would not pay more than that. If you're going to pay any money for it, don't pay more than 10 bucks, all right? You can get by with this for right now, okay? Now, you can buy yourself a gray card or use the card I gave you here, even a white sheet of paper as mentioned here. So look at the following two shots. The first shot is one of some books taken in auto white balance, which we've all taken photos in. The light in my room, it says, is from 3 standard light bulbs, and as a result, the image is quite warm and yellow. So the automatic setting here, in fact, if I was to blow this up just a little bit, you could actually see the warmness of it. It kind of looks like it's like by a fireplace. You know, like the, have you ever, how many likes fireplaces, by the way? I love fireplaces. It's just the light of the fireplace and the heat of the fireplace. This also could maybe look the light of a candle, possibly as well. But it's the same result with a standard light bulb. A tungsten light bulb will give you this kind of yellowish effect. Now, after taking this picture, holding up a piece of white paper to the camera, telling what color white should be in manual mode, this is what the second shot looks like. Much more realistic in the colors, as you can see, than the first one. You can definitely see the first one there is more yellowish, isn't it, than the second one, more real colors, truer colors. The manual adjustment, you'll find out, is not difficult to do. It is very easy to do, and it's well worth investing time in it. That's why we do it this week. This whole week is on white balance. But here's some more creative uses for white balance. There are times when a photographer does not want accurate colors. Somebody give me an example on some photos you've taken. I've seen some really cool ones in here, by the way, of examples where you do not want the true color to come in. Somebody give me some of some you've taken. Yeah.
Or like the ocean or something where it's all blue. And
Yeah, good. Ocean where it might be all blue. Yes.
When you're trying to set a specific mood for the picture.
You purposely want more of an antique-y bluish type thing for a picture, right? Kind of a tungsten kind of look you know, on your picture. Good. Anybody else? Where you don't want a true color? Yeah.
Subway.
What is it?
Subway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, great examples. These are all reasons why you might not want it. So, a warm-up filter on a film SLR, which you don't have, was great though, because what we could do is, when we were photoing sunsets, we could take a warm-up filter and apply it, and it would warm that up easily. Of course, you could go out and buy yourself a colored filter for your digital camera. I don't suggest doing this too, by the way. However, using white balance is much easier. You can actually use white balance to control colors to look different than what they do in reality, even using white balance. You can set white balance to be incorrect as well, if you wanted to. Or, say, set on your presets, there are presets that actually will give you your photos different colors. So if you're in say you're in a outside setting and you set your preset to tungsten, it will give it that tungsten feel, that greenish tint. Or if you set it to, or I take it back, a bluish tint. If you set it to fluorescent, it'll give you more of a greenish tint. You can also, with the white balance, instead of pointing it to a white piece of paper, point it to another color that you want the picture to be tinted by. Somebody said blue in here earlier. Blue, right? Blue. A bluish area within the picture, point that white balance to that bluish area, and guess what? You're going to have a bluish tint to that photo. That becomes, because what you're telling the white balance, you're faking it out and said this is white. It doesn't say you're lying. It just accepts it, that you're telling it the truth. This is white. Okay? Now, I will say you can get a little trouble on this one, and you might play with this a little bit between now and Thursday with your camera, is if you point it towards a color that's dark, a dark prominent color within the photo, it can actually overtake the photo to where it becomes really dark. So whatever color you want to play around with besides white, make sure it's a lighter color within the photo. Does that make sense? You want it to be a lighter color, that way it's not the dominant color or darker color that kind of overtakes everything and whitewashes everything. Now, you can do that just to see what it does, but that's what will happen, and it'll overtake it. So here's the second paragraph. Of course, you go out and buy yourself a color filter, yada yada, but we can use white balance controls that can impact your images. So here it says the first shot below is taken with automatic white balance, AWB. The camera took a guess at what the colors were and got it pretty close. The following was taken with the same exact setting. The white balance, though, was changed here a little bit because the color has what's called a temperature to it, and in photography it's called the Kelvin temperature. And here it says the color temperature is around 2800 Kelvin. This color is a color down to the maximum on your camera. It's much bluer. So they actually took and just played around with that photo till they got the color the way they wanted to on the white balance. The next one, the last shot, was at the same setting as the first two, except the colors are warmed up a little bit. And again, you can apply different modes in there to warm your color up. Or you can use a manual balance and point it towards the actual correct photo color. The first shot's probably the best, but if we were photographing like a sunset, somebody mentioned here on a beach on the end of summer's day, the warmer tones of the last shot might add something to the mood or the image. On the other hand, if we're shooting on a cold, misty winter day outside in the countryside, you might want to enhance the feeling with cooler tones. Now, it gets more here into what Kelvin is. Most cameras allow you to shoot at what's called a Kelvin rating of between 4,000 Kelvin and 8,000 Kelvin, and they let you increment it by hundreds on some of your cameras. Some of your cameras will not have this manipulation ability. SLRs do, but some point and shoots don't. Check your camera's manual to see if you have this Kelvin range to play with. Some more advanced digital cameras have what's called white balancing bracketing, which allows you to take a series of white balances, kind of like the bracketing where you could do like say a bracketing of like say 4,000, 6,000, 8,000 Kelvin degrees on bracketing. Artistic effect, you can do a lot of cool things artistically with white balance. On this one here, they deliberately chose the wrong white balance to achieve the artistic effect. It says here, for example, on a beach on a perfectly sunny day, you might set your white balance for cloudy or shady instead of the bright sunny day, and thereby getting the effect you want to for that white balance. And so again, this picture was taken in a bright sunny day on a beach, and it set it to cloudy. And that's how this picture was given this result. Tells the camera the ambient light has a slightly blue cast to it. The camera then compensates by adding a bronze effect. So this person's original color was not bronze, it was white. Definitely wasn't tan. And so this kind of give a tan bronze effect to the whole picture. And so because they added the cloudy effect or the cloudy white balance, or even shade in this effect, even though it's bright and sunny outside, it's going to give a kind of a bronze, red-orange effect to that. And the result is your subject gets an instant suntan. And I've done this a lot on family vacations where my sisters didn't want to see their white skin, so I applied cloudy to it or shade to it and make their skin look darker than it really is. So it's an effect you can do. Be warned, this effect does not work on all scenes in which the sky is visible, as a color manipulation may be quite obvious on your final images. Now, when photographing an icy scene, perhaps you should try setting your white balance to warmer, like daylight or shade. Normal or standard exposure will allow making the snow and ice a little bluer anyway. Because by default, snow is very bright and the light bounces off of it, and it's like in your face bright, right? It's really white. And so a lot of times you have to use that shade effect sometimes to do that. And the result is, because of that, it says on the other hand, perhaps you want a bluer effect, making it all look colder. So you might change it to a tungsten setting, which will make the blue stronger. This tells the camera that the light is slightly orange, so we'll introduce a more blue effect with tungsten. The result is the image simply looks cold now because of the tungsten effect. You see the drops of rain here that have formed into icicles now actually look cold in the picture, kind of a bluer tint. For even finer control, it pays to develop a bit of understanding of the Kelvin scale. In fact, on Thursday, I give you a handout of the Kelvin scale and where different scenes fall in the Kelvin scale, like indoors, like here, outdoor bright, cloudy, snow, street lamp, all the different levels you could take photos in, and it tells you kind of range of where that Kelvin scale is. So, now what I want you to do is this. I told you I had a lot to do tonight. We have the second part of this. If you go into the lessons folder for me, into the lessons folder, I believe I have a folder called critique in the lessons folder that we've used once already. We're using it again, photo critiques. There's a drop box in there called exposure, worth 50 points. I'm going to get you started on this, and it shouldn't take you that long. Let me give you the details of what you're going to do. It's a little different critique this time than last time. What you're going to do in the exposure drop box, it tells you the below pictures are from week 5 exposure take home that you've done. Remember, the exposure button on some of your cameras is labeled EV for exposure value. As I went around Thursday, I believe I pointed that out to some of you on your cameras. But I told you in the assignment to do 5 settings of -1, 0, +1, remember, for that assignment. And then post it to an exposure photo album. So you're going to go to that exposure photo album, look at all the sets that you've taken, choose 2 sets of those photos, and you're going to make a comment. Every one of your photo sites allows you to make a comment on your photos. You're going to make a comment on 2 sets of photos, so 6 photos total. The comment are going to answer these questions. Where was this photo taken, number 1? Number 2, in what mode was your camera in to take it? Manual mode, portrait mode, or some other mode maybe. I know some of your cameras are a little different. Most of yours will fall in the range of manual and portrait, I'm guessing. And P is a P mode, portrait mode, for those of you who forgot that, P, portrait. And then what effect did the EV exposure value have on that unique picture? Example, say it's a -1 picture you're looking at. Yeah, maybe a little too dark maybe. Maybe it's a 0. You say, yeah, maybe too light. A +1, yeah, just right. Okay. What was the lighting like? And here I actually give you some nice little pictures. Because when I know I first started taking photos, when they started throwing around terms like tungsten, tungsten actually was a pretty common term back then, but now it's not so much because everybody uses fluorescent. So I threw little pictures in here for you. Fluorescent is not only these in here, but most of you have these at home now. You replace the tungsten with these fluorescent screw-ins, right? They are fluorescent now, but they screw into your replacing the tungsten bulbs. Because remember, the government kind of thinks that tungsten is bad for the environment. But I guess I've read some articles that these fluorescents aren't that great either, because it's kind of biohazard, suits to come in and clean it up if you drop one. But anyway, fluorescent, tungsten, was it taken in fluorescent, tungsten, street lamp maybe, or other? Here's some below other ones that could be what you took the photo in. Candlelit, sunrise, sunset. I think I told you Thursday to maybe try to take a few in those areas. Tungsten lamp, natural daylight, overcast sky, shade or on a sunny day, blue sky. These are just a few. It could be more than that, but that's just a few to get you started. So again, these questions: where was it taken? Choose 2 sets from each photo. You're going to have 6 photos in total, 3 per set. Choose 2 and just force yourself to choose 2 sets. Where was the photo taken? In what mode was it taken in? How did that EV exposure affect the photo? Make a little comment on it. And then what was the lighting like? Once you're through making the comments on all of those, here's how I want you to submit it. I gave you a little example here of exactly what I want you to do. You're going to tell me in the title of this drop box, you're going to put in exposure for the title. And then the message, you're going to put set 1. My +1 was this photo link. These are actual photo links from this assignment from a student in here. Set 1, here's my +1, 0, -1. Set 2, there's my photo link, direct photo link to +1, 0, -1. Pretty simple, right? And so when you go to these pages, when I click on these pages, I'll be able to see your comments. Okay, so this is a personal critique for your photos only that you're doing this for. Make sense? Once you're through with that, you're going to submit it below. I'm thinking it might take most of you 10, 15 minutes maybe to complete this at the most, to do this little critique on your own photos. Any questions? Okay, let's begin. I'll come around and help anyone that needs it. Take your links to all the stuff you commented on. Let me go to an example here, an example photo stream. Okay. 2. Okay, so here's your we'll pretend this is your exposure photo stream, and you're ready to, you've made comments on this set and this set. You want to go ahead and click and open. You can actually do this way. You can actually just click and copy link location. Once you do that on each picture, let me show you real quick what it's going to give you. Oh, get back down this way. When I do my paste, there's my direct link to that picture right here. So again, when you go to the photo, just click. You can actually do control click, control key on the Mac, control key, click on the picture, and then copy link location is what you want, okay? Control, click, copy link location, and then paste it in the body of the message. And this is what it should end up looking like when you're finished. All your URLs that you pasted. And then you can continue to work. So I got about 6:52, so we got technically 15 more minutes. So, all right, go ahead and look on the overhead real quick. Just kind of take a breather for a second. For the in-class lab, is kind of a take-home. What you're going to do is look at your manual, number 1, to figure out where to set your manual focus, how to set your camera to manual focus. Find out where that's at. Number 2, once you find out where that's at, I want you to take only 3 to 5 pictures only. And kind of vary on the lighting. I didn't put this in the instructions, but vary it on the lighting. Like do fluorescent, do kind of a bright indoor. Maybe tomorrow morning when you're outside, do an outdoor bright, kind of natural lighting. Kind of toss it up a little bit on the lighting if you would, even though I didn't put that in your picture as far as tossing it up. Use manual mode, key one here. Everyone in here, I want you to use manual mode for white balance. Okay? And if your camera allows you to, otherwise use the presets, but I don't want anyone using auto. Okay? So number 1, if your camera lets you do manual, which 90% of you should let you do manual, or more hopefully. If it doesn't let you do manual, you can use a preset other than auto. Okay? What I mean by that is if you're outside and it's sunny, you're going to use the sunny preset. If you're outside and it's cloudy, use a cloudy preset. If you're indoor fluorescent, indoor fluorescent. Make sense? Okay? 3 to 5 pictures, maximum 3, minimum 5. When you come to class Thursday, bring your camera with those photos. Don't upload them or anything. I'm going to look at those photos upstairs in 220 when you come to class, the first probably 10, 15 minutes of class. I'll have everybody hook up your cameras to the computers in there, and we'll bring them into Picasa and we'll look at them. I'll just come one by one and look at them, see how you're doing, that you recognize how to use your manual mode before you do the take home for the week. Make sense? Any questions on that? Okay. Yes?
If we can do the manual mode where you pick the cards you want us to do.
Yeah, you're going to use this card every time on the white balance for manual.
Question, if it says override preset, will it go back to whatever?
If it says overwrite preset, it'll always when it says overwrite preset, it's going to do that. It's going to overwrite the preset.
But just temporarily, right? Not permanently to that particular.
Well, your camera will only allow you to overwrite manual stuff. It won't allow you to overwrite like if you have sets like sunny, cloudy in there. The presets for camera, it won't let you overwrite that.
So
It'll
if
just
I'm
be
doing it
temporarily.
manual and I set it up and I override it to the card.
It's only going to be
outside,
manual.
It'll just be while the camera's on, and then the next time I turn it off, I'll have to redo it again to the different.
Exactly. Each time you're going to redo it. Right.
Alright.
It'll prompt you every time, do you want to overwrite your last preset? It'll do that every time. Good question. Yes? Any other questions? Okay. Well, once you're through with this, or if you're at a stopping point and say you get them all commented, but you have to leave to do whatever, go to your next class, you may do so. We still have technically till 7:15 in here, so we got plenty of time. So I'd say go ahead and finish it up if you're pretty close. If you need help, raise your hand, I'll help you. Otherwise, I'll just kind of walk around and see how you're doing. What's not working? Is that the picture? Okay, that's the URL, so copy that URL. Fast way to do it, let me show you. I'll show you. Just go ahead and enter key on the keyboard. Now, do this one. Do Command V next time when you do a paste instead of how you did it before. So do Command C to copy. No. I want to do Command C. Command C to copy. Okay, go back to your go to Command V. Command V. Much
So the
easier.
negative is going to be the dark blue, right?
Correct.
And the one is the black, right?
Yeah, plus one's gonna be right.
So, for, Thursday, you want us to do class then?
Just for Thursday, just this right here only. Between now and Thursday, that's it.
And now what are we
Never
supposed
do
to
that.
do?
What now?
We're going to be commenting?
Yes.
That we are?
Yeah, answering those questions that was in the contrast. Answer these questions per photo in your comment for each photo.
For
Yeah.
us?
Yeah, like on your picture site, you can comment on all your pictures. I want you to answer these questions on each comment. You're choosing two sets, remember, each set has 3 pictures. So it's a total of 6 pictures you're
Can we
commenting
answer
on.
it?
Do what?
Can we answer it?
No, in the picture itself. Because I'm gonna take this link and actually look at your comment. I'm gonna take this link and look at the browser and the comments. What are we doing here? What are you up to?
Oh, nothing.
Behave yourself.
He's got a Mexican.
Yeah, let's leave that shot. Oh.
He actually thought it was
So you have to, I actually want to.
Is that what he thought?
I think that's what he said.
Tell him it's not.
I love it.
Right down, let's write down auto. Change that to 80.
He thought it was big. Thanks. Oh.
Let's say you did one out of manual, what you would do is if we go in manual mode, it has a set mode, and then it says you point it towards the while you're in the picture. Point it while you're in the picture, press, and then it says set, good, done. You're just going to focus on all these other ones besides auto. So we're going to shade, you can use shade, fluorescent, fluorescent, incandescent, either tungsten, the old-fashioned bulbs. So that's only for you to work on. Between now and Thursday?
Yeah.
Right there. You just take 3 to 5 pictures. First of all, read your manual, how to get to the manual mode in your camera if you have it. If you do have manual mode capability, set it to your white piece of paper. Otherwise, use the presets other than auto. So if you're in say you have a setting that's sunny, use your sunny preset. It's cloudy preset. Do what? Yeah, every camera's gonna have white balance. Some cameras though won't have a manual override of white balance. Yeah, it might not, no big deal. Just don't use auto. Use all the other presets besides auto. That's fine.
It's called YouTube. Go figure out what my balance is.
Just don't use auto.
Continuous mode?
Fluorescent would be like in here, Thompson, the old fashioned light, daylight outside.
When you click the button,
Do you think,
That's it.
do you think Walmart would use a fluorescent?
Walmart? Yeah, they're,
That's
every store's gonna have fluorescent because of the government, every store.
We'll move the camera, then you
I
can.
did.
Then just use all the presets but auto.
Here, so get frames. Okay, now you're gonna just.
Yeah, you'll have the option of daylight,
Just do-
tungsten,
Ready?
fluorescent, scroll down more, you might have more than that. That's all you got there, just play with those.
No, no,
Okay.
no, do like.
So you'll take
move your
3,
hand
1
around
per.
or something. No, no. Okay, stop.
You can edit it, can't you? We'll let you edit, click the edit button. I have people do that to me all the time. It's like those second pair of eyes you get for, right?
Why are you doing that?
Did you get that link updated for me, for your photo sites?
So these are your photos.
Yeah, I got mine updated. So I can bring that.
Oh, yeah, how,
I want you to do that after you're through critique.
do you know what lesson it was under?
Nope, you look at your grade book, it'll show you. And when you get to your grade book,
I think I know what lesson.
when you click on it in your grade book, it takes you right to that lesson.
Oh,
If you're in your grade book, there's a hyperlink that takes you right to that lesson.
Last
no,
Thursday,
there
forgot
isn't.
to ask. In,
This one here?
yeah, in 2 days.
Yeah, there is. Let me show you.
You know,
Your course page.
Here.
Go to my grades. My grades.
Here.
My grades. And I'm gonna find the one that's missing.
I'm trying to figure this shit out. It's confusing.
Oh,
What is that?
It's 25 shots.
okay.
Did you think this was weird? Is that what you thought?
Yes, I did.
It's not. It's a juice drink. Because he's like, I think he thought you were drinking beer. I told you you were.
Okay, I think it's in.
No,
Yay, just give me a URL so I agree with it. All I need is a URL to your
do I
main
put,
page,
do I
that's
put
fine.
contrast exercise title?
Yeah, that'd be great.
What's
Yeah.
backlight?
What?
What's backlight?
What's backlighting? Lighting that's behind you?
I know, but why is
You should have back, on the wide balance, some of these will have backlighting. You should. That makes a difference in the,
I know, it like.
cause you can have backlighting, front lighting, side lighting. We'll do the lighting, I have you see all the different effects of how lighting.
So you just want me to write the URL and paste it?
Paste it, yeah.
For all the photos?
No, just for that one. Just for that one, your main photo site is all I need, cause I can navigate from here to find it.
Oh, okay.
There's a Dropbox on this.
No, nothing right now. Just do that. I am gonna have you submit on Thursday.
On Thursday.
I'm gonna put your name in. As I come around, I'm gonna have you put your name in there, and I'm gonna make a little comment there.
Okay.
I'm
So
not,
I make sure.
Yep.
Thank you.
the computer's not being my friend today, and I'm getting very frustrated.
What number you at? Just take your time.
It just like, I don't know, it just like completely